So, hello everybody, my name is Obsttorte and today I want to show you something special. A few days ago I have posted a post about fragment painting. That's how I call it, an alternative to vertex painting. Some of you might know vertex painting, which is something that can be done on models to blend different textures or shaders into each other. Which creates nice transitions. And yeah, I said fragment painting is an alternative to it. And the first question could be, why do we actually need an alternative? And the reason is that for the blending, vertex painting, blending, you need vertices quite a lot actually, which means you create additionally trees, which is bad for performance. And yeah, normally if you do this vertex blending, for example, on a road where you want to have dirt in the middle and grass on the sides, due to the fact that the road is very bumpy itself, you normally have the vertices already in place, so you don't need to add additionally one. So vertex painting is actually a nice method to go. But the problem is that you might also want to blend textures on a plain wall, for example, where you would not like to add additional trees. And yeah, the other problem with vertex painting is, as said, it only works on models. So I thought about an alternative, and yeah, just show the image here. As you can see here, two textures are blended into each other, and the white lines already shows you that there are no additional trees. And now I want to explain how I have achieved this effect. And yeah, some already posted it, that it uses a custom GL so a custom, what is this called, shader program. It's a custom shader, and this is the shader. And actually, yeah, it doesn't do that much actually. Yeah. The vertex shader just passes an argument, which we will see in the material. We open that one. Yeah, where is it? Okay, this is something old. I not really use this, it seems. So I use it. I have no idea for what, but I use it. And yeah, the actually part takes place in the fragment shader here. And it does actually nothing more than it takes two textures, which are texture 1 and texture 0, and blend them together by using another texture, which is a black and white image, and depending on the brightness, it chooses a certain part of one texture and then a certain part of the other texture and simply adds them together. This is what this last comment here does. It actually does a linear interpolation between the first image and the second image. So if I write this down in math, it basically means something like that the resulting color is the value fag, this number, multiplied by R0, which holds the color from the first texture, and then adds 1 minus the fag value multiplied by R1, which is the color of the second texture. So this is a linear function actually, and as I said, this fag value is actually the brightness of the image we use. Yeah? And this means that depending on what image I'm using, I can actually blend different textures into each other, and yeah, I can use this on all kinds of materials or surfaces, better say, and they can be worldspawn, this can be func statics, and this could be models. It doesn't matter. Yeah, and I've already written one such a shader here for testing purposes. And yeah, one problem I've encountered is that I cannot use the result of the blending method, or the shader better to say, as the diffuse map. For example, I cannot pass it to the diffuse map, I cannot pass it to the bump map or to the specular map. So it's a little bit limited in that case. So I have to do it differently, and what I does is I use simply a white, plain white image as a diffuse map, and then I blend filter the result of my shader program over it. And blend filter actually does nothing more than to multiply the resulting color component wise with what is already on screen, so it gets multiplied with the white background, and as white equals 1 1 1 in red, green and blue values, it actually creates the look of the texture like it would be normally blended as a diffuse map. The only difference is that as a diffuse map is used for lighting, and this blend filter stuff do not react to light, the textures tends to look a little bit different, in that case a bit brighter due to the white when illuminated by light. Yeah, and okay, we will create a new texture just to demonstrate this effect. Yeah, so let's call this textures dark mode stone blend, for example, and it will be a stone texture. I've actually created a little test map, and as you can see here, we are in a very small room with these stone walls. And what I want to do is change the look of the stone wall here. And a lot of stuff. The texture used there is this one here, blocks brown. And what we do now is to mix this one up with a different texture and see how it looks like. So what we need, what we definitely need is we have to say what material it is, and then we have to blend the diffuse map. So blend diffuse map, and we map white. This is a stock file which already comes with mod. And yeah, I could also just write diffuse map white, but I do it this way because it might be necessary to tone down the white a bit if it's too bright. Yeah? I will show you how this works later on. So, and now we blend filter the shader stuff on top of it. So the program we use for this is the one I've just shown you, which is called blend 2, because it blends two textures into each other, and it's a vertex fragment program. So hence the shortcut UFP, if I pronounce it correct. Okay, and yeah, you can see that I mixed up this directions here. I have to test which one will be one. So I just pass the first texture, fragment map, which will be the stone texture, and we use the diffuse map as our basic image. So I just copy and paste this out of the file. Where's the text file here? And put it in here. So this is the first texture. And now you can think of what the other texture should look like with which we want to blend it. And yeah, I hope I pronounced this correct. I mean blend like B-L-E-N-D and not blend like P-L-A-N-T. So I don't talk about the blend, but the blend. So okay, and maybe yeah, it's stone. I don't know what we could use. Maybe some plants or something like this. Some grass, or where's nature? Yeah, stuff like that. Let's see. Yeah, this looks nice. Yeah, just use this, and we also copy the diffuse map, which is used here, and this will be our second fragment map. Voila. So, and now we need a texture or an image which tells us how to blend the textures. Yeah, and I was a little bit unprecise on how the blending takes place, because this fag value here is actually also in vector. So this blending is done component wise. So this equation gets fulfilled for the red channel, which is X, the green channel, which should be Y, and the blue channel, which is Z. And this means if you use a colored image, then each color channel of the image or of the textures will be blended differently, which might look a little bit odd. So it makes sense to use a black and white image or a grayscaled image, something with no color in it. And yeah, in our case, we might want to have stone on top, the stone texture on top, and the grass is down below, like it has grown up there or something like this. And for this purpose, I would choose a decal. And the decals, we have this funny looking dirt decals here. And I found one. Check which one it is. Yeah, for example, this. Yeah, the purpose would be that probably the white stuff here would be our stone on top, and the black stuff would be the dirt coming from the ground, for example. And the image that is used here, which you can see here, is this this one here. Yeah, and we take this one and use it as our third fragment map. Yeah. So, and yeah, that's actually it. So let's see how this looks like. We have to reload the materials, and then we should find it, textures, dark mode, stone blend. We should find it here. Okay, and I select the surface and apply it to selection, and now I hope it is sealing. I'm not 100% sure it's sealing, but as it has a diffuse map, it should be. So, and now I have to reload the engine so that the game itself knows the texture, and then I demap just to be sure. I think I don't have to demap, but I changed the text, I had to demap. Okay, and now we see how this looks like, and I hope it worked and I did not oversee something. I tend to. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this is how it looks like currently, and as you can see, we have to arrange the texture accordingly. Yeah. So let's do this next. I don't have a preview image here. I could use the preview image of the decal, so I see what's happening. So let's get back to the decals, dirt, and I used this one, yeah. And I actually just copied this. And use it as, yeah. So this QER, I don't know why there's a queer, I don't know. This editor image is the image that is used for preview in Dark Radiant. So you can see what you're doing. So I reload this, and yeah, now you can see it. So we select the surface and scroll the texture down to the bottom, which looks like this. So we might cut this up. 1, 2. Ah, fuck. Sorry, wrong. This direction. Yeah, and on the other one, did I forget something? No. Should be. Ah, wrong combination of keyboard stuff. Okay, and this one gets the default texture back. And then we have to move these textures too, so it looks aligned nicely. Yeah, okay, should be fine. So, okay, I demap again. And now it should look better. Yeah, this is how it looks like. Okay, and what you can already see, we have slightly different looking texture, and yeah, it looks a little bit different than other textures. Yeah, it reacts a little bit different to light, as said. What is missing now is the bump map, and as I already said, similar, like I can't pass the image to the diffuse map, I can't pass an image to the bump map, so I cannot blend two bump maps. So you actually have to choose which one you want to take. Yeah, and in that case, I will simply use the bump map of the stone texture, which should look fine. So in meta browser, color definition, here's the bump map. And yeah, I would actually have to say to do the same for the specular if there were one, but it doesn't seem so. No specular. So yeah, use this, and it gets in. I'll put it here at the end. So we have a bump map. We reload the engine, so because we've changed the material, and then we can get into it, and let's see how it looks like. Takes a while. It just looks better. Okay, so now we have the texture applied actually on the stone stuff. And I think for it to look a little bit more nicely, we can do this all around. So something like up, up, cut this up, 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 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hello. Okay, and apply. Oh, stop making that noises. Okay, tmap, map. Let's see how this looks like. Yeah. Huh? This is how it looks like, and yeah, the way we have planned them together, I think this would be look good in a haunted mission, something like the Lost Cathedral, or how it was called in the first game. So it's very nice, and yeah, you can actually plan this together in all kinds of ways. And as you can already see, or I have seen in the editor, I will show this here too. Show trees 2, 1. You can see we have no additional vertices which are needed for this purpose, and the effect is, at least I think so, pretty nice. Yeah. So, and just for remembrance, the lower texture is our planned, and the upper texture is the original one, which only holds the stone. And I think you can't really see the difference. The transitions are okay. Yeah? Depending on what textures you planned, it might look odd. However, especially if the two textures you merge have very different bump maps, and if both bump maps are very strong, so if the surfaces you want to mix are extremely bumpy both, but have very different bump maps, it might look very odd. So I had this problem with the texture combination I've chosen here, because this texture around here is a plaster texture which is called Adobe Rough, which has a very fine granularity and is very bumpy. And then you have this I think it's called Big Stone Smeldu or something like that. So where you also have a very strong bump map, but the bumpiness is around this white stuff here. So this bump map is created to let this white stuff look like it is farther inside the wall than the stones actually. Yeah. So completely different bump map, and you have to choose which one you want to use. So this combination looks a little bit odd if you use it, actually, because the bump maps are both very strong, as said, and differ very strongly. However, if the bump maps are quite similar, or if, for example, one bump map isn't that strong, for example this grass stuff here, I'm not sure if it even has a bump map applied. You can check this. So it was grass, this one, yeah. This has a bump map, yeah. Okay, I think, I mean, we can use this just for fun to see how this bump map looks like, but it doesn't seem to be that strong because it's just a little bit of grass. You don't need much. This, I comment this out, and no, I have to reload. And if the bump map isn't that strong, as said, you can actually ignore it. So I think it still looked good. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, this is the, you can see the granularity is relatively fine, very small scale, but what is okay. But it's not that strong. You could also use it this way actually. Yeah. Although the stones look a little bit odd this way. Yeah. So this is the problem I mentioned. I can really only use one bump map. I cannot blend them currently. And yeah, but I think the result is okay. Yeah. So you have to decide which one you want to use, which one looks better. Do you want to set the emphasis on one texture or the other? Or do you choose textures which are quite similar from their bumpiness? I mean, there are a couple of textures which actually look the same, but only have different colors. For example, if you go into the stone textures, there are a couple of them which look relatively similar. No, not this one. I have to choose. I don't know. Which look relatively similar and could be blended just to get some color gradient in it to make it look a little bit more nice. For example, these both are quite similar. Yeah. And I have no idea what's the difference between those both. Stuff like that. And I have to disable autosave. Just see it. I have a new computer, so everything is just. These are a good example. Yeah, these both. Yeah, you can see these textures look more or less the same, only the color is different, and so I guess they will even use the same bump map probably. You can check this. Granny blocks local, and this one uses Granny large blocks. Okay, different bump maps, but I guess they will look almost the same. Yeah, so you could blend these into each other with no problem. Yeah. So, and for this purpose here, for the blending image, what you can see here, I just use a decal image, as said. You can use other black and white image, what I used in the images I have posted in the mod, in the forum, sorry. I actually use such I use this one, yeah, and you can see image map, light, background 1 amp, you can just copy that. Doesn't work now, but you can type it up. So you can use this stuff here, for example, or you use something different. Yeah. So you can actually, you don't have to use the image that come with the mod. You can actually use anything. I would just say use a black and white image, and so it doesn't notch the colors all different, but instead blends them all the same way. As said, this is component wise. Yeah. So okay. I think I'm talking quite a lot. I don't know if I have to say more. Just have to think a second. Yeah, as said, I will upload a test map with this stuff, so you can look it up yourself. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. You have the blend diffuse map. Oh, I wanted to show you how to tone it down. Now I remember. Just use the other bump map to look better. So if you consider the texture to bright, when it comes to light, that it starts to get too bright, you can use the RGB command to tone it down, for example. Yeah, so this command multiplies the red, green, and blue values with the same number. In this case, 0.8, which means it just gets darker by 20%. Yeah, and if you do this, the image will look darker. So this is a good way to adjust the brightness of the texture. Yeah, because as said, if there's very bright light shining on this surface, it will look very bright, as said. You might not want it. The difference wasn't that strong. Just to demonstrate this. Now you should see it. Yeah, now you can see it. Yeah, very, very dark. Okay, you don't want this normally, but just you can see that you can adjust the brightness of the texture simply by adding this RGB spawn arc. So the main problem, as said, is that I cannot just remove this. I cannot use the result of this shader program for diffuse map. So if I want to use it for diffuse map, I would normally say blend diffuse map and then pass this shader stuff here. And this doesn't work. This gives me a black screen, actually. I think the reason is that the shader programs that are in this material file are actually executed after the engine has loaded the diffuse map and the bump map and the specular map. So I guess the basic drawing has already taken place before these things are actually executed, and due to this there is no result here in the shader program if I use diffuse map, so the diffuse map stays black. And this is a little problem actually, which I could only change if I would change the source code, and I think I'm not going to do this because it would take some time, and the code that actually handles, I already take a rough look, the code that handles all this rendering stuff is actually distributed over several files. Another approach would be to change the interaction shader. So every time a light hits a surface, this is called an interaction, and there's a certain shader which handles the drawing of this surface. By taking the diffuse map, the bump map, the specular map, and calculating how the image should look like and how it should look like on screen. And I could actually alter the way the shader acts by allowing it to use another image, which I would have to define. So I would also have to change the code, but this kind of change would be a little bit easier, I think. So I would actually add something like blend map or whatever you would like to call it, and then you can pass a blend map, and the code checks if there is such a blend map defined. If not, it works like always, so the old stuff isn't affected. But if there is such a blend map, this would be this image, specified in the material file, then it would do what my small shader currently does. Yeah, this would be an idea, but it would only be worth the implementation if a lot of people would say, yeah, I really want to use it, because if only 1 or 2 people would use it, it doesn't make sense to implement this, because this would take actually probably several days or weeks, because I would have first to find out in which files the things are specified, how they are specified, how I have to change the code, I would have to make some error testing, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. A lot of amount of work, high amount of work, something like this. Yeah, my English is very terrible today. It's been a while since I did my last video. Sorry for that. But as I said, this is the basic way it works. Yeah. So just maybe to end with, yeah, as I said, you blend white as a diffuse map. Then you blend filter the result of the shader program, which is called blend 2. I will upload this too. The first 2 images, fragment map 0, fragment map 1, are the both image that gets blended. Fragment 2 is the white, black and white image, which is used to tell how much is taken from which texture. And then we have the bump map here, which you have to choose which one you want to use, or theoretically you could create your own, but if you do so, you can also create a texture on your own, and you don't need the blending, actually. Yeah. And one thing I might add is that the fragment map 2 here, this blending texture, textures or materials allow if states, so you could actually make it in a way that it could be, the blending type could be set via a shader palm, which would work only on func statics though. But if you do so, you could actually use the same material but let it look differently. And another thing is that the shader could be changed so that instead of using such a texture for the blending, it uses a Perlin noise function. This is something like a random function, but it doesn't look too irregular, so that the textures get blended randomly, which is something you would use in a forest map, for example, or on the outside if you want to have bright grass and darker grass and so on, and want to blend it together, but it doesn't really play a role how it's blended, just that there's some variation in it. This could also be done. Yeah, stuff like this. Just have to check how long am I talking actually. Oh, half an hour. Sorry guys, I didn't want to talk that long. Okay, so this is the basic stuff. I will upload the video, or I will have uploaded the video when you see it, and I will upload the example map, including the shader program, including the materials here, and well, yeah, that's it. And I hope this was understandable. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in my mapping thread, Apples and Peaches. There's a link under my posts here. Mapping and scripting, Apples and Peaches. There you can find the thread. It's the easiest way to find it, actually. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too boring, because I know it was too long. Next time I have to write a script. I just improvise actually when I do this video, so I hope it's okay. And yeah, as I said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. And yeah, this was your Obsttorte. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.